So I think I was visited by a friend in the middle of the night. The destination today is a place that I've heard of 1,000 times, Niagara Falls. There's still some tread there left, obviously, but it's beginning to get square. I've certainly gotten 12, 13,000 out of these rears before on these particular Shinkos, but not with this load and not with the kind of heat that I started my trip in.
This is just the result of the COVID pandemic on my plans. Well, I would have loved to have taken you on a tour of this old historic lighthouse, but it's closed. I can't help but look at that and wonder how quickly that would fill my swimming pool.
The room is not great. Okay, good morning, day 13, and there's rain in the forecast. Foreboding? Perhaps. Gonna try to get going early, just to see if I can get ahead of that. And the goal today is Lake Placid, where I am going to reunite after quite some time. I talk to him on the phone pretty regularly, but I have not seen him face to face in years. My good buddy Bob, who was an original urban monk back in the 80s. Those of you who have read my book know the story there. So super excited to see him and his wife, and in Lake Placid, which is just a gorgeous area. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a review of cheap motels and things that make cheap last minute motel purchases fun. First fun thing would be security. Deadbolt doesn't work, doesn't engage the door at all. Love that the door frame looks like there's been a lot of prying and jimmying going on here. That's fun. This does lock, and if you push the door hard enough, it actually latches, sort of, slightly, kinda. And then there's this. I mean, talk about sleeping like a baby last night. This whole setup, this would stop a drunken frat boy who thinks there's beer in here after the liquor store is closed. It's the little details like, attention to paint. This is a nice area here by the mirror. And, I've done a lot of painting, and you gotta watch the trim. That just gives you a touch of elegance, and makes it more regal feeling for your guests if you really pay attention to some of the trim details. And speaking of details that really please your guests, of course, this is a necessity of life, but there's other details that kind of, sort of, maybe go with that. Haven't found anything to go on that spindle anywhere in this room. Then there's this guy, the shower. You got, at least the shower head's at a height that my head fit under. I'll give him that. But there's two knobs here. Of course, don't even bother turning the one on the right because then it's too cold. You love these places where they've set the water heater to the absolute lowest temperature a human being can possibly get underneath the spray of water. So just turn the left knob on full, and yes, the water flow is really restricted, so it's just kind of a nice gentle dribble out of there, so you don't get too blasted.
This is cool. Didn't need this, and I think my lungs are grateful that I didn't turn it on.
All kidding aside, the sheets were clean. I checked the mattress, no sign of bed bugs, and I slept pretty well in that bed actually. And the shower was warm enough. Thank goodness I brought shampoo and I brought some conditioner and I brought all the toiletries I need, except for, well, I had toilet paper. I brought that too. It's on my bike. So, yeah. And then we've got all the comforts of home. Refrigerator, freezer. Freezer's pretty cool, actually. And microwave. So, time to get out of here.
Okay, let's step outside and see what the weather has in store for us today. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, fun. Can I describe the chill of the air for you? Jolly good time. The question is, rain gear on right from the start? Or wait till a few drops? That can be problematic. It doesn't look like any rain overnight. Yeah, no, we're all dry here. Let's get loaded and get out of here. Little tip, these things are great for a little added security, but buy a brighter colored one than I did. I just got the cheapest one off eBay, and that was black. Because I forget about it every time. I was just rolling the bike forward to lubricate the chain, and of course it, hit the brake caliper and startled me. So really good idea for security, but and cheap, but a brighter color, and maybe tie a string on it that goes up to your handlebars. Well, in just the time it has taken me to load the bike, most of that system has blown over, and I've got some clear sky over here. This is the direction stuff is coming from, which is over the lakes, and it doesn't look so bad over there. So I'm gonna forego the rain gear at the start here, but I am getting going early, and I do believe the rain is eventually going to catch up with me, because the forecast in Lake Placid is for rain. That's it. I've decided to pull over here and put on my rain gear, and I stopped here by this Catholic school, which I assume is maybe good juju for my ride today. Maybe if I just say a prayer I won't get rain. We'll see. I'm gonna gear up though. My ankles, my socks are getting wet already just from the spray up on the road. So it's time to be prepared, I think. And it's cool enough to where I don't mind. Okay, now it's guaranteed not to rain. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind after going through all the trouble of putting this on is I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, let's try this again. I actually have some waterproof gloves in my top case, but they're also insulated and very warm. I have these hand guards, keep me pretty dry when I'm moving. We'll see. This appears to have been here a while. Both of these, very cool. So I had to stop and try this drive-in. It looks to be the kind of place that would be much busier on a better weather weekend, and truly a one of a kind. I cannot find this in my town. I also have a hard time finding anything on the menu I can eat, but that's the gluten-free thing. And of course, most of what they have is either a hamburger or a sandwich on a wheat flour bun or bread, and deep fried things, which again is flour. So, but I got some chili fries, which are junk foody enough for a place like this. And potato fries are gluten-free. It's pretty cool though. This place has tone, as I like to say. I just noticed these are like bent sheet steel or bent tin, let's call it, umbrellas. They've got to be vintage and they are super cool. They got a bunch of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. This one even has tilt. I suppose they all do. Yeah, they do. Love them. Okay, so chili cheese fries. We'll see what the. Oh, good God. Yeah, there's not going to be anything healthy about this. I'm not eating all of this. But sure it tastes good. Eey. Okay, I'm in Lake Placid, New York, which was the site for the 1980 Winter Olympics. And interestingly, I'm at what's called Art Devlin's Olympic Motor Inn or Olympic Hotel, something like that. But this place was built specifically at the time to house athletes for the Olympics. and it hasn't changed much since then. So it's kind of vintage. I want to show you this. The gist of it is this thing was built originally for the like 1930 something Winter Olympics that were held here, and then of course to house athletes, and then it's been updated throughout the years, but then of course it housed athletes for the 1980 Olympics. And so, for all I know, this was like Dave Christian and Jim Craig rooming together in here for, that would be amazing. Anyways, pipe dream. But it's cool to be here. It's got green shag carpet, which I really dig. One more super cool thing about this motel. When's the last time you saw one of these? I love this. It's so awesome. All right, I gotta get a bite to eat. Oh, it's so sad. Cool. Hey guys, just a little interjection here. On this day of my cross-country trip, I was able to hook up with an old dear friend who appears in my book, Creating Mr. Kortan. He's an original urban monk. His name is Bob. And I just want to say real quickly, I'm going to put in my chit chat with Bob in the hotel room following this. But there are certain characters in my life that have brought me an incredible amount of joy. The people I really, really like and hold with me for decades are the people who were the biggest characters, but also who have strong character and, have been there for me when I need them. And I try to be there for them. All that being said, when you watch this video, you will see what I love about this guy, I hope. What you might not see, and I want to make sure that you know about this person, is he's brilliant. This guy is a brilliant scientist, and that may not be immediately apparent to you. Enjoy. I made it to Lake Placid, and I am here with my dear friends, Bob and Sharon. Thanks for coming over. Those of you that have read my book might remember the name Bob from chapter 1. Bob is an original urban monk. Bob, you rode I wrote in the book about your CB 750.
Yep, you bet.
What was the story? How'd you get that bike?
Oh man, that was crazy. Well, I had not had a bike before. Urban had a killer, the 550 Honda the Silverwing.
CX 500.
Okay, let's start over again. Cut.
Take
I thought you had a Silverwing.
CX 500. I had a Silverwing later.
Okay. Oh yeah. So anyway, I'd been hanging out with Urban and his brother, and we've been hanging out, and they had some motorcycles. I did not at the time, and I was happened upon this CB 750 Custom. Thought it was like the coolest bike in the world. It had the 4 bangers in the row. Looked cool.
I got news for you. It was the coolest bike in the world.
Well, it was pretty choice. I mean, I dug it.
Still is cool as shit.
Yeah, I dug it. It was slow, and it was slow because it was beefy. Probably could have done some work on the, maybe boarded out, did some, mechanicals to it. But I tell you what, it was a great bike. I hung out with these guys. We partied. Urban had in his book, replacing the clutch in that thing was one of the coolest things I ever did in my life. We went into that thing as blind as you could. We took it apart, we figured it out, we put it back together. shifted like a charm, man. It was awesome.
Well, and I mean, you went on to tackle much bigger mechanical projects. Your Fiat comes to
Oh
mind.
my
Oh
god.
yeah, that was neat. That was neat. You know, I found a '78 Fiat X19. Paid $500. It'd been in a flood.
Wow.
I can't think of where that was. It was just like maybe 100 miles outside of where we were living. And yeah, brought it back. You know, ended up buying a whole new short block on it. Replaced most of the stuff, you know, water pumps and things like that that I had from the original engine. But you know, the block was all brand new, and that was cool. That was just amazing. Ended up, you know, I drove that thing when I left Fargo to go to Indiana to go to graduate school, and it was fun to have. And then ended up selling it, and you know, moving on. But that was cool.
Where'd it go?
I,
It went on a truck somewhere down south.
yeah, I went down to Texas. You know, I was online. It was for the interwebs, you know. And I found somebody who wanted an X19. You know, I was actually driving with a buddy of ours in Minneapolis when Urban lived there. You know, I went to take a left, and I thought it was yellow. They thought it was green. Smashed into it. Anyway, long story short, sold it. But it was cool. It was, you know, I would have never been able to do anything I did with that car. Like, literally tore it down to the nuts. Without, you know, Urban's input when we were growing up together. It was killer.
Well,
Killer.
you know, it wasn't just mechanics that we were, oh, I don't know what the right word is, creative or inquisitive. You know, we also had a real love of beer and distilled beverages.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't hurt.
so we, you know, built a distillery on your mom's kitchen stove one time.
Yeah, yes, we did.
I don't know this story.
Yes. Yes, this is what you do when you're in high school and you're bored. But we do need to go. If I can just digress for 1 second and talk about the knowledge of Urban is crucial because the guy is brilliant, and I fed off it, and we together, I mean, we could literally do anything. So outside of, you know, working on engines and taking apart things, and, you know, Urban being like this uber audiophile that probably hated me when we were in grade school, but we grew to like each other. We decided that, yes, we needed to make some sort of potato vodka of sorts and then distill it in my mom's apartment kitchen. And it was killer. It lit on fire. Not sure that it was actually, you know, could have been methanol. It should have been ethanol. We were hoping for. It was potable if you like that sort of, your whole body wants to kill you for it. But I thought it was pretty cool. It's a science experiment.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like science? I mean, I love science. That's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, I dig.
And so tell them about the career you went on to. What do you're
So inspired.
cleaning up at the adult bookstore in the booths, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I went on to find out what kind of, you know, like, you know, what really happens inside of the dark booth at an adult bookstore. And so I went in there for 6-7 weeks. I went undercover, of course, you know, and you know, dressed up like a little old lady who drove a Zamboni. His name was Devaya. Anyway, I took care of that, and then I decided that this was completely ridiculous. So I decided that maybe I want to know even deeper about that, because I learned how you do it, blah, blah. And then, so I want to go to microbiology. So I went into microbiology and got a degree, got a master's, bachelor's, all that kind of shit, PhD, blah, blah, blah. And then I, you know, decided that I wanted to use that knowledge of backroom, dark, porn-laden adult bookstore knowledge into clinical work and take care of people. Because, you know, we got to make sure that they, you know, STDs are huge. So it's like, okay, well, let's all figure this shit out. You know, so okay, so that's how it works. So now I'm a clinical microbiologist and I like people. Yay.
Hey, we all have our unique path.
That's right. It's a very circuitous route.
No, I don't know. I think there was something about the times I don't know if it was unique to Fargo, but that's where we were. That's where we were experiencing it, and there was just a desire to dive in there. How does this work? We would come up with some half-baked plan, like we want to ride out to Detroit Lakes to go party with some girls or something. Well, then we got to get that clutch fixed, right?
Right.
So it was just stuff like that. And,
Absolutely.
And one thing led to another, and
Well, that was the thing about Fargo. I mean, Fargo's a great place. Don't get me wrong. I grew up there. We all grew up there, and it was cool. There was really only a couple of choices of things to do there at the time. I mean, I'm sure right now I've not been back to Fargo in many years, but when we grew up, there was, you could blast yourself by drinking a lot, or you could like do interesting things and come up with your own ideas and make things and make it work and do fun things, and we did that. I think
yeah, we did both of those.
yeah, yes, we did. Don't get me wrong, we blasted ourselves and we had a good time. We went to Detroit Lakes. It was really a fun time. To this day, if I hear fucking who the fuck who are those hold on, man. Welcome to the jungle. Gets worse here every day. I learned to live like an animal in the jungle where we play. You got to hook up to what you need. If I ever hear that song again, real, I'll kill you. This whole camera is out. I'm out. Yeah. What was the name of that band?
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. Yes. So we went. I swear to God, we went to down to Detroit Lakes is a huge thing, and in those parts for 4th of July, and we always went with our buddy. Our buddy from Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
And Angela Lansbury, she's my favorite. Anyway, and we would just drive up and down the street, Main Street or Lake Street. What's it called? Lake Street or Lake Broadway? In Detroit Lakes, it's called Broadway.
Oh no, that's.
I think it's called Lakefront Drive or something. Whatever. Anyway, up and down for like 3 days. Everybody had the Guns N' Roses "Appetite for Destruction" tunes on. And it was the worst thing ever. But you know what? I had a good time.
And Whitesnake.
Oh, Whitesnake. Yeah, Whitesnake was pretty good too. But it was always just Guns N' Roses, Guns N' Roses, Guns N' Roses.
To this day, there's like a handful of songs that like I can just sit down on drums, never ever actually learn them, practice them, rehearse them in any way, shape, or form, and I can execute them
Flawlessly because you heard them so much. I love it.
Sweet Child of Mine was one I had to do with this cover band I was in. And they said, do we need to run through that? And I said, I don't think so.
Yeah, I know.
Let's
I got
just
it.
do it at the show. And we
Yeah.
did, and it was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure it was flawless.
And it saddens me that that's the case.
Well, we did have some good times. We had some great times. And here we are in New York.
Yeah.
Upstate New York, Lake Placid. We're hanging out. Please have a seat. That was really horrible. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Amateur.
Yeah, my amateur wife, who poured that. No, she's great. Love her. Yeah, here we are. Urban came up here, visited across the whole of the United States, and now we're hanging here. This is crazy. We hung out here 12, 13, 19 years. Really?
Yeah,
Holy
got
shit
married right
balls.
after, Holly and I did.
Yeah, so 19 years ago, we were up here in Lake Placid partying.
19th is coming up.
That's crazy as shit. 19 years?
That was
Wow.
a hell of a
2000.
party.
Oh, yeah. We had
We had some disco dancing.
Urban and I,
Disco dance.
and we had Mary Antoinette. What's her name?
Oh, Angela Lansbury.
Oh, yeah. Angela Lansbury was here. And this other dude who has got great, we call him the Shirt. What a great time. What a great time. We hadn't seen these guys for a long time. I have really good friends. All I can say anybody out there who's watching this who gives a shit about this at all, man, there's certain people in your life you should hold on to. You may not see them for decades, but these are people you need to hold your heart, hold them real tight. Like, it's killer. Good times. Good beers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Urban monks they are what they are.
Yeah.
It was what it was.
It was. Urban Monks.
And now it just kind of has turned into something else, but
Urban Monks was a serious deal, man. I think, I think, that's kind of the weird situation, because, Urban and I, we knew each other forever. I mean, literally probably second, third grade, only because I was hanging out with his brother. And his brother's, dear friend of mine as well, and he always will be. But there was this point in time, probably, I don't know, 8th grade, 9th grade maybe, that, Urban and I kind of just like, we're kind of cut of the same cloth. I mean, there was this, thought process, that was very scientific, and it's like, we kind of realized that we're I don't want to, this sounds stupid, we weren't smarter than everybody, but we realized that we had an ability to understand shit a little bit differently than other people, and we could talk about it. And then of course the problem is when you understand shit like that, you kind of you think too much about stuff, and that's when it gets you in trouble a little bit. I don't know if you've told Urban about the getting the Buick Electra started.
I haven't. That's a great story.
It's an amazing story. So if you don't mind, may I?
Yeah, please.
We go up to Echo, Minnesota, which is out 3 hours. I don't know, 3-4 hours or whatever from Fargo. 3 hours. And we're going up there. We're checking shit out. We're going up to his family. It's Urban's family's farm and blah blah blah. And there's this 1965 Buick Electra, which is a little bit longer than a football field.
I was gonna say, what does that look
But
like?
it's huge. It's a huge, beautiful, giant vehicle. It was huge.
The trunk sleeps 10 comfortably.
Oh yeah, exactly. totally. Sleeps 10 comfortably with stretching. Anyway, so it's in this barn. And so, Urban has this vehicle, and we're trying to get this thing to run. We have no real good tools, right? We got probably a screwdriver and, a few things. We had a flashlight. Anyway, we got this thing to turn over. We could never get this thing to start. Never get it started. It wouldn't turn over.
We bought a new coil at the junkyard.
Oh, that's right. We did buy the coil. Yes, you're absolutely right. So we couldn't get spark, and we and that's the thing is we didn't have like a dwell gauge or dwell meter. We didn't have a timing light or anything like that. So we did get the coil hooked up, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with coils, but they really hold on to a lot of power, and when they release it, it, because that's what sparks the car, right? Or sparks the engine. There's plugs. Anyway, so we get this all hooked up. This thing's turning over. We got a new battery. The battery's turning over. Couldn't figure it out. So Urban, this is old school. This is like not solid state distributor. This is like an old school distributor cap where if you turn it just so right, you get the right, contact points. And like I said, we didn't have feeler gauges, so we can get the contacts perfectly. So
Probably used a matchbook cover.
Yeah, which would have been, because a buddy of ours who has a Harley Davidson used to use the thickness of an old matchbook, like the paper matches. That's how he used to time his Harley. So anyway, we got this thing kind of starting over. So in order to time this thing without a timing light, Urban held on to the coil wire that was supposed to go into the distributor, and I would turn it over, and as I turned it over, he was holding onto it, getting shocked, and as he turned the distributor, when the shock got to the point where he couldn't take it anymore, we figured that was the point where it was timed. And I goddamn swear to God, he stopped it right there, put it in, and the fucking thing started. So he started it with Urban holding on, where he's getting like 50,000 volts. He was like, this is good. That's good. Perfect. We drove it home. We trailered it home, but we did get the car running,
'cause the
which is
brakes were
yeah, the
leaking
brakes
all
were
over the
toast.
place.
But we got the thing running, and the thing had been running for what, maybe 20 years, 30 years, or what?
Whose car was it?
My grandfather.
It was just, yeah, 10 years, whatever. It sat in a barn. And that's another story for the barn because of the manure and the acidity of the manure and driving it to my grandma's house. And that's another story for this episode or next episode. But tell you what, dude, that was killer.
It wasn't a brilliant red barchetta.
It wasn't a red barchetta, no, unfortunately, but it was a huge car, and that was, I mean, see, ingenuity. You work with what you got, you figure it out.
Well, I think that'll probably be somewhat of a theme on this trip because viewers of this series are going to see me struggle with this POS tent that I brought with.
Oh,
And I keep saying, I know this tent is not a good tent, but I own it.
yeah, but I own it.
So
Nice.
work with what you got.
Sweet.
And that was like that's the way our farmer parents were and our grandparents. It was just like you had to get it working somehow, some way with what you had at hand.
Totally.
And
You deal with what you got.
yeah,
You make it work, man.
that's what I try to do in my shop.
I dig it.
And just, I want a cafe racer, so I'll make one.
Yeah.
Without buying all of, I mean, I got a few parts here and there, but for the most part, I made what we needed
Absolutely.
in my garage on the cheap, or just bought cheap.
Well, there's something about, building something that's easy because you can buy all the stuff for it, or you build something because you really want to do it, and you, like you said, you work with what you have, you make do, you improvise. I mean, the world wasn't built with a store you could go buy the stuff for, right?
Right.
You had to do with what you had, and you figured it out.
Right.
If you hold on to a coil wire and time your car that way and make it work, well, then that's good. Or you sit there and you do nothing and you sit in the dark and wait for someone to pick you up. It's like, well, make it work, man.
You used those skills to hang curtains this morning.
I did.
It's very sweet.
You hung curtains?
Well, it was very,
Well,
very
this
impressive.
Problem solved the hanging of the curtain.
I did.
Wow, you have become fully self-realized.
I did. It was very cool. I know, and I did. I problem solved with the valences. What do you call them? Valences. Yeah, I problem solved, and you gotta you gotta make life what you want it to be, and you just gotta work hard, man. That's what it is. Sometimes once you've worked hard for a long time, sometimes you can go, you know what? I don't care anymore. But I think you gotta work your ass off to get to the point where you can say, I'm done. I don't care anymore. You can't just say that just because you're lazy. And I'm totally lazy, but I've worked really hard to get to my lazy point. I like that part. So there.
So,
Mic drop, whatever it is.
what haven't I asked that I should?
I don't know, man. I like dogs. My puppy's over there. Crashed on your bed. Just joy.
Good dog.
I like skinny skiing, bullfights on acid.
You like movies about gladiators?
I do. I really do. That's really weird, but yes. When they brought that up in the movie, I was like, really? I do too. That's fucking crazy. What the hell? That's the weirdest movie ever. I just, do you want to do good? Danny. You want
This
to?
boy's younger than you to the gas chamber.
Didn't want
Want to
to.
do it? Felt I owed it to them.
Yes, right. What do you want to do, Danny? You want to be good or not?
I want to be good, sir.
Good. 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 Good.